All right, so hello everybody, and if you're looking at me looking a mess, looking tired, because I am, for a number of reasons, and a lot of it is more than just physically tired. Like I am emotionally tired for everything that's going on in this country. I don't, and it feels like nobody is addressing what I think is the most important part of what needs to be addressed. I mean, I'm going to tell you, it's a lot of passion out there, it's a lot of anger out there, it's a lot of frustration, but it's not all pointing in the same direction. It's like a lot of it is just canceling each other out, and even worse, some of the anger and the frustration that's on one side is fueling a response of anger and frustration on the other side. So, what you have are people who have their own views. They believe that they're doing what needs to be done to help the situation as they see it. But at the same time, the way it's being done is making the people who you should be trying to have join you, or you should be joining forces with. I'm not even going to say join you, but joining forces with. It puts you on opposing sides when in reality you have more in common than what you have apart. Now, I am going to I'm going to find two links. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to find two links to two different posts, both of which make some extremely valid points, and both of which are full of passion. And there's some F bombs in one of them. If you're one of those people who get offended by that, I'm going to say, especially if you're a Christian, the world is full of people who says F bombs. God loves people, and I think part of the problem is if we let that stop us from hearing people, then we're not moving the ball forward. We're not being fair to the mission that God has put us here to do. People shouldn't be cursing you out, but if people are expressing who they are and how they feel, and some F bombs come out, that shouldn't stop you from listening to them so you can try to hear what's going on, because at the end of the day, that is the issue. That is the problem. People have all of this passion, but they only have passion for how they feel instead of taking the time to not only express how you feel, but to just listen and try to understand how somebody else is feeling. That is, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. So let me tell you. So this first video is one of a black woman. She's got, looks like she's in an area where she's got, she's been where these riots and things are. And so she's actually addressing that. And she talks about the looters, and she talks about the inequality of the system, and man, she puts together a passionate argument. And if you're listening, if you're not trying to judge it, if you're not trying to listen just so you can respond to it and tell her why she's wrong, if you just listen and try to understand what she's saying, you can not only feel her passion, but she makes some valid points. And then on the other side, there's a video of a well-prepared, well-groomed black man. He has a shirt on that says "Make America Godly Again." And he's a former police officer, and he has passion, he has fire, and he is total opposite of her. So he is presenting the argument that we as people, especially black people, just need to own up to what we need to do And we as individuals need to quit trying to depend on white people to understand and this and that and the other, and don't worry about white privilege. And he talks about that as far as white privilege, dealing with the white people on the same issue, but from their vantage point. And he has a lot of valid points. And if you just listen to what he's saying, you'll realize that he does have some valid points and some things, but both of those, well, let me back up. Honestly, his delivery, I wanted to turn him off in the first 30 seconds because his tone and his posture, I wanted to. But then I have to realize that I have to do what I know in my heart needs to be done, which is to just put aside how I feel for a moment and then listen. Don't try to debate him. Don't try to say he's wrong. Don't try to do anything except just to try to be in his shoes for a minute and listen to his point of view and see if there's any merit. Because at the end, if we're not even listening to each other, we're just cross-talking. We got all of this passion, and now when I say something, you're not hearing what I'm saying. You're hearing something that is emotionally triggering you. And I felt it in me. Like I don't agree with the way he was coming off on it. And some of the things he was saying, I think, are overly simplified. But I felt myself like getting, what's the word I'm thinking of? I felt myself getting defensive and wanting to put up my guard. But then I had to realize, one, it's just a video. But two, let me listen. So what I did was I'm going to try to do this kind of quick. What I did was I went through the videos and I wrote down the things that I think they have in common. Because at the end of it, we're all human. And at the basic human level, there are certain things that we cannot escape that connects us all. And one is we all have a sense of fairness. We want things to be fair. And we look at what we think is fair, and we think everybody else should have the same definition of what we think is fair. Let me give you a case in point. So if I say as a black person, and I'm giving you, this is real world stuff. When I say as a black person that I need to have, that I have been oppressed, and that the police are brutalizing our men, and they're hunting us down in the streets, and we need to put a stop to it, and we can't stand for this. I'm saying all of that because I don't think that it's fair that the things that I perceive are happening. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. So then you take on the other side, and I've heard this a lot from my white people, my white friends and colleagues, associates, however you want to say it, who said, well, listen, I didn't have a father in the home. I didn't grow up with money. I grew up in black neighborhoods. I had my own set of problems. I was in the foster care system. I had all of these things, and I made it. And what's not fair is for you to think you should get special treatment just because of the color of your skin. I got problems too. I have things. I got hurts too. My parents didn't love me the way I felt like I should have been loved. I got those pains too. And it's not fair for you to think, Mr. Black Man, that you should get special treatment because you didn't have those things. Now, I'm not asking you to agree with either one of those sides. What I'm asking you to do is to hear the commonality. And what the commonality is that people want things to be fair. We're divided on what it takes to get there. We're divided on what it means for things to be fair, but the division isn't as far apart as you might think. The division is basically on the fact that we we aren't listening to the other person, and we're not trying to understand. So there is a person in my life who I love very much, love with everything in me, and I know this person loves me. But when this person and I have a disagreement on things that are important, we both agree that the issue is important. But when we have a disagreement on it, this is how I feel. I try to explain what I'm feeling, the difference, the problem is, and immediately the other person starts telling me how to fix what fix it in the way they think it should be fixed. And in reality, they haven't even heard my version of the problem. What they heard was they took some words that I said, and they're already filtering it through their lens, through the lens of their experience, and then now trying to tell me a solution. And I'm still here saying I need you to stop, because you're not even trying to fix the problem I'm presenting. And you can't know the problem I'm presenting until you listen to just understand. And that's the thing I'm trying to bring. The book by Stephen Covey called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the best reads available to mankind as far as I'm concerned. And it's a book that changed my life. I've been through it a few times. But the habit number 5 is to seek to understand, and then seek to be understood. That means that I am going to put all of my, if you and I are having dialogue and we both want equality, we both want things to be fair, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to push my feelings just over to the side just a little bit, and I'm going to try to listen to what you're saying in a way that I can try to understand it. Because the truth is, understanding is kind of like glasses. This is an example that Stephen Covey uses in the book. So basically, if you go to the optometrist, and the optometrist says, I want you to tell me those letters that's on the wall, all right? And you can't tell him the letters. And then you say, okay, the optometrist takes off his glasses and gives them to you and says, okay, now I want you to read those letters. And you're saying, I can't see those letters. He said, what do you mean you can't see those letters? When I put those glasses on, those letters are clear as a bell. You just gotta try really hard, and you can see those letters. So he takes the glasses off of the patient, the person coming in, puts them back on. Yep, these glasses work. That's awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do, here are my glasses, and I want you to just think really positively and just really put all your best energy in it. And you'll see, just like I see, that it's clear as a bell. But it's not. Because the lens that works for you may not work for me. So even though that's an imperfect analogy, the point is this. I need to try to step out of who I am. And in order for me to be able to see things the way you see them, I need to almost essentially try to become you. Try to see life through the experience of you seeing them, and try to understand. And that's a very hard thing to do for most people. And I'm not asking everybody to be able to master that, but try. If you're a white person, and I'm gonna start with the white people, okay? So white people, if you look at the people who make most of the laws, you look at most of the presidents, you look at the legislation, all the legislators, the people who make the rules for the society, look at the justices, the judges, you look at all of that, disproportionately white. So you have the microphone. If you are a white person, and even if you're a white person who grew up poor and who had problems and all of that, I'm asking you to just for a moment, put that to the side Not put it away, just put it to the side just for a moment. And try to imagine yourself in the world of the people to whom genuinely want things to be equal but feel like there's a different path to it. Just try to understand it. I'm not asking you to agree with it. I'm not asking you to accept it as logical. I'm asking you to just try to understand it. Because if until you try to understand it, you can't really have a discussion. That's number one. You can't try to discuss something with me when you're not able to actually see what I'm saying. My black people, black folks, friends, family, acquaintances, however you want to label it. So what I'm asking from you is to just try to be clear, try to deliver what you're feeling in a way that other people can understand. Now, it's just not totally on you, because I want you to say how you feel, but always keep it impersonal. Meaning, I'm going to say how I feel, and I might say how I feel about white folks, and I'm speaking as a black person about white folks, but I don't want to say it in a way to where I'm condescending towards that person, because it does make it harder for people to hear that. I mean, you become defensive when people start labeling you specifically. So, white people and non-black people, but specifically I'm talking white and black at this point. I apologize for everybody who's not in that arena, because I'm sure there's a way, but I'm just trying to keep it simple. So, white people, when you're listening, I need you to put those things to the side. And then once you feel like you understand what they're saying, repeat it back. I'm not asking you to agree with it and say it's right. Just say, okay, so what I'm understanding is that you feel like what's happening out there with the looters and what's happening with the rioters is a result of how your race of people got here in slavery and how there's been systematic oppression. Try to restate it in a way that they know they were heard. Because that's another point of being human. We just want to be heard. Being heard is like providing oxygen to the individual. And until you let me breathe, until you let me get my oxygen in, and you let me breathe by being heard, I ain't got nothing for what you're trying to say, because I'm not breathing. If I'm not breathing, there is nothing you can say that's going to be important to me. Letting people feel heard, not just listening and trying to filter it through your experience. Listen and try and filter it through their experience, and give people the gift of feeling like they have heard and they're understood. The thing is, listen to understand before listening to be understood. And white people, since you all have the microphone, the large megaphone, and there are plenty of white people who aren't part of that system, but for simplicity, that's why I'm saying this. Let's listen. And then black people, let's be real. All white people are not the problem. They are not. And there's plenty of white people out there who are caught in the crossfire because they really don't see how these problems are out there, because they really do try to see everybody as equals. They really do. But until we are willing to listen to them and try to understand them after we've been heard. So, like I said, the white people in general, the system that has been structured by the people who have the majority of the power. You have the bully pulpit, so I'm putting the onus on you to listen first. But after that, we need to have those conversations, and not just on the big scale, but on a one-to-one scale. Let's try to hear people's heart and understand how hard it must be for me. I'm listening to some white people who are really, they're hurting too, because they feel like they aren't being heard. Like, I'm not part of this oppressive system. They're like, look, dude, we grew up two houses. I grew up two houses down from you. So why are you lumping me in the same category with all of these other people who are making these laws? I didn't make one law. I didn't do any of that. So why am I being lumped into that? And why am I being forced? And this is something else, and I'm not even going to get off on this, but I'm going to mention it. Why am I being forced to try to only assume your point of view, and you're not even trying to listen to mine? I am a human too. And we all deserve to be heard. We all deserve to be understood. And then we have a platform to talk to each other. So, with all that being said, and I said I was going to try and keep it short, and I really need to hurry up. So, both of these examples have passion in common. They both are frustrated. They both have a specific logic of thought. And they both have a desire for black people to excel and to be treated fairly, and they both have a desire for change, but they'll never be able to work together because neither is listening to the other. Think about that. We got all of these things in common, but we can't work together because the one thing that we don't have in common is how we got here and what the real problem is. Let's listen to people. Let's listen. And then when I understand your point of view, now I can ask questions, valid questions. And now I can give you an opportunity to address those questions. If the only thing that I want to do is be heard and then shut everybody else out, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I'm going to throw this in as a bonus. I didn't have this in my notes, but I'm throwing it as a bonus about Trump. I personally think Donald Trump is a despicable human. That's just what I think. Okay? But I personally know Trump supporters who are good people. I'm not talking about in general. I personally know Trump supporters who are good people. And when I say good people, I mean people who, when I need something and I call on them, they drop what's going on and they come to help. I'm talking about people who have made, who I didn't even know. Yesterday, I was helping someone move, and we were picking up some equipment and a very large armoire. And I go to the house to pick the armoire up to take it to the other person's house, and there's a guy in there, white guy, beard, looked like Duck Dynasty a little bit, and he's got a Trump, Truckers for Trump shirt on. Man, we had the best time. We had the best time. Now, does that mean that he's a great person? I don't know. All I know is that the color of my skin didn't cause a blip on the screen. The color of my skin didn't stop him from going out of his way. He didn't even live there. But he was there with his friend who owned the place in the armoire, and he went out of his way to go get some tools and equipment so that we could go ahead and take these things down. And we had a great time. And the fact that he supports Trump doesn't make him ineligible to be a good person. Now, if we were really good friends, what I want to do is find out what in the world. How can you, as a person who doesn't seem to be bothered by me being a black person, how can you support a person who clearly is not being sympathetic to what's going on in the black community? And worse than that, and I'm going to throw my own little piece in so I can be heard, Donald Trump is in my opinion, beyond the term racist. He's beyond that, and I'm going to tell you this. I've coined the word Trumpist. He's Trumpist, meaning Donald Trump doesn't even care about your skin color. His evidence shows that what he cares about is people as they reflect to him. Vladimir Putin, I don't care if you've oppressed a zillion people, but if you tell me I'm great, I'm gonna tell you you're great. It don't matter. If you're black and Kanye West, and you go in there and tell Donald Trump how great he is, even though he might have that old plastic smile on his face, he's gonna back you up and tell you how great you are. In other words, he cares about himself more than anybody else. And you look at any interaction he has, you just know, and this is Stephen on his soapbox about Donald Trump. He cares about Trump. If you're white and you're a white man and you're part of the system and you tell Donald Trump he is crap, he is going to come for you because he don't care about your color. He care about whether you support him. Now, enough about that. So that's how I feel about Donald Trump as a person. But what I don't do is assign all of Donald Trump's shenanigans to people who choose to support him. I don't understand it. I'm not saying I understand it. I'm not saying I can justify it. But I am saying, in reality, what I need to do is pull one or two of those over and have this open conversation. Because I don't understand it. But I know what I see and I know what I feel. And I know there's people who I can depend on who are avid Trump supporters, Trump flag bearing people who have come through for me when I needed it in some very important areas and never balked at it once. We need to listen. All right. So, one, I apologize for looking like a mess here because I'm tired. I'm emotionally drained, but I want to see us do better. I want to see us be better. And it's a lot of valid points being portrayed on either side. The thing I want you to come from this video with is listen to understand and then present the point back to them and then listen and then seek to be understood. Give people a chance to breathe by listening to them for understanding so we can start bridging the gaps based on the things we have in common. Our base humanity, for things to be fair, for people to be heard, and for all of us to be able to be healthy, happy, and have a good quality of life. All right, guys. Share your thoughts below. And I'm going to start posting more of these videos. So if you want to subscribe, please subscribe. If you dislike this video, hit the dislike button because I'm not interested in whether you like or dislike, but I do want to know how you feel and I do want to know what you're thinking. I don't have to agree with you, but but you also deserve to be heard even if you disagree with me. All right, guys. Take care. Let's love each other. Let's take care of each other. Let's listen to each other. Let's control the controllables. And then let's leave the rest to God. All right. Bye.